The Grand Council of 7 systems had made their decision, and honestly, it was about the stupidest thing I have ever witnessed in my 342 cycles around our twin suns. "You cannot be serious," I said, my 4 eye stalks quivering with disbelief. "You are going to throw a human girl into the razor pits? A diplomatic ambassador's daughter? Are you trying to start an interstellar war?" A High Counselor VP fluttered his breathing membranes, their species equivalent of a dismissive shrug. "The humans must learn their place, Science Officer Quicks. They swagger through our galaxy like they own it, their bodies constantly leaking water, their bones filled with actual calcium. Disgusting. That's their natural biology. And they have been nothing but peaceful since first contact." "Peaceful?" Grand General Talk slammed her chitinous forearm onto the floating council table. "You call nearly breaking Ambassador Rixel's arm during their primitive handshake peaceful? The human female used excessive force. She must be punished according to our oldest laws." I wanted to bang my head against the wall. The excessive force was a 17-year-old human girl named Maya Parker who accidentally squeezed too hard during a diplomatic greeting. Humans come from a high-gravity death trap of a planet, what we classify as a Class 12 Deathworld. They are stronger than most species without even trying. "So your solution is to throw her to the Krazak? The most feared predators in the known universe?" I asked, not bothering to hide my sarcasm. "That seems perfectly reasonable and not at all like a massive overreaction." The 7 counselors looked at me with various expressions of annoyance and contempt. Their decision was final. "The human will face the Krazak at tomorrow's dawn cycle," High Counselor VP declared. "Perhaps her species will learn some humility when they see how quickly she is devoured." I stormed out of the council chambers, my feet slapping angrily against the polished floor. I had to see Maya, had to explain what was happening, though how do you tell someone they are about to become apex predator food because they shook hands too firmly? The detention cells were located in the lower levels of the Grand Spire. I found Maya sitting cross-legged on the floating gel bed, looking surprisingly calm for someone who'd been arrested during her first diplomatic function. "Hey, Mr. Quicks," she said, giving me a small wave. Her 5 fingers still freaked me out a little. So many digits. Am I getting out of here soon? My dad must be losing his mind. I hesitated, my skin shifting to a darker blue, our species' involuntary reaction to distress. "Maya, there's something I need to tell you." Her facial features rearranged into what humans call a frown. Another bizarre trait, their faces are so malleable, constantly reshaping to display emotions. "That sounds ominous," she said. "The Council has, well, they have decided to punish you for injuring Ambassador Rixel." Maya's eyes widened. Those strange round eyes with their single color, hers were an unusual shade of green. "What?" "I barely touched him. He's the one who screamed and fell over like I'd broken his whole arm. His species has hollow bones, Maya. Their homeworld gravity is 1/8 of Earth's." How was I supposed to know that? Nobody briefed me. She stood up, and I instinctively stepped back. Even this adolescent human towered over me. "What's the punishment? A fine? Diplomatic reprimand?" I fluttered my breathing sacs nervously. "They are going to put you in the razor pits with the Krazak." Maya blinked. "The what with the who now?" "The Krazak are predatory creatures from Nexus 6, apex hunters. The Council keeps them in fighting pits for ceremonial purposes. I didn't mention those purposes involved executing criminals and political enemies. So they are throwing me to the wolves?" "Literally?" Her voice remained oddly calm. "Wolves? No, the Krazak are much worse. 6 limbs, triple-hinged jaws, acidic saliva, and neural paralytic venom." Maya sat back down on the gel bed, which wobbled beneath her weight. "When?" "Tomorrow at dawn cycle." She was quiet for a long moment. I expected tears, panic, or pleading. Instead, she asked, "Can you tell me everything you know about these Krazak things?" "Their biology, behavior patterns, weaknesses. That wasn't the response I anticipated. Why would you want to know that? Maya gave me a smile that sent chills down my spine. Because I'm not planning to be anybody's breakfast, Mr. Quicks. I spent the next 3 hours telling Maya everything about Krazak biology. Their vision was primarily movement-based. Their scaly armor was thickest along the spine but vulnerable at the joint connections. They hunted in packs of 5, communicating through subsonic rumbles. Maya listened intently, occasionally asking questions that surprised me with their insight. She seemed more like a predator studying prey than the other way around. "One last thing," she said as the guards approached her cell. "Tell my father not to start a war over this. I will be fine." "How can you possibly know that?" I asked. Her smile returned, what humans called a grin, but this one didn't look friendly. It looked hungry. "Because I grew up in Alaska, Mr. Quicks. My family lived in the deep wilderness. I have been dealing with predators my whole life." The guards flanked her, their neural prods at the ready, though Maya showed no signs of resistance. "What is in Alaska?" I called after her. She glanced back over her shoulder. "One of the last true wild places on Earth, where the predators are bigger than you." The razor pits were packed to capacity. Over 10,000 spectators filled the ancient amphitheater, buzzing with excitement. Nothing drew a crowd like the prospect of watching something die horribly. I'd managed to secure a seat near the arena floor through my scientific rank. The diplomatic corps was noticeably absent. Ambassador Parker had been detained for his own safety after threatening to declare war when he learned of his daughter's fate. High Counselor Vep's voice boomed through the amplification system. "Today we witness justice for violations against our sacred diplomatic protocols. Let the human female face the judgment of the Krazak." The crowd roared. A circular platform in the center of the arena began to rise, bringing Maya into view. They dressed her in the traditional execution garb, a simple white tunic that would show blood well. For the spectacle, of course. Maya looked around calmly, surveying the arena. Her eyes caught mine briefly, and she gave a small nod. Then came the Krazak. 5 separate platforms rose from the arena floor, each carrying one of the enormous predators. They were magnificent and terrifying, each standing taller than Maya, their 6 powerful limbs ending in curved talons, their elongated heads housing triple-hinged jaws that could snap a Zentaron bull in half. The crowd fell silent in anticipation. Even aliens who had seen many executions held their breath. The Krazak were ancient terrors, hardwired into the genetic fear response of many species. The force fields separating Maya from the predators shimmered and disappeared. The lead Krazak, larger than the others with distinctive red markings, immediately fixed its compound eyes on Maya. It released a subsonic growl that I felt in my chest cavity. Instead of running or freezing, Maya did the unthinkable. She stepped forward. The crowd gasped. The Krazak tilted its massive head, momentarily confused by prey that approached rather than fled. "That's right," Maya said, her voice somehow carrying across the arena. "I'm not what you expected, am I?" The lead Krazak let out a piercing shriek and charged. Its massive body covered the distance to Maya in seconds, jaws opening to reveal rows of serrated teeth. What happened next left the entire arena in shocked silence. As the Krazak lunged, Maya dropped and rolled, not away, but toward and under the creature. Her hand flashed up as she passed beneath it, striking precisely at the vulnerable neck joint I told her about. The Krazak's momentum carried it forward, but it stumbled, letting out a confused howl. It turned, more cautious now, circling Maya with its pack joining the formation. "You know what's funny?" Maya called out, her voice echoing in the silent arena. "On Earth we have a saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." The aliens in the crowd looked at each other in confusion. Dog? Fight? What strange human metaphors were these? A smaller Krazak broke from the circle, attacking from behind. Maya somehow sensed it coming, perhaps from the subtle air displacement. She pivoted and drove her elbow into the exact spot where its armored plates connected. It then grabbed one of its upper limbs and used the creature's momentum to throw it off balance. The Krazak tumbled, shrieking in what sounded like surprise. Back home, I tracked and tagged grizzly bears as part of my mom's research team. Maya continued conversationally, as if she weren't fighting for her life. A full-grown male can weigh over 1,000 pounds. You guys are bigger, I will give you that. But you move pretty much the same way. Two Krazak attacked simultaneously from different angles. Maya dove between them, causing them to crash into each other. She rolled to her feet and struck again, precisely targeting vulnerable joints. The crowd was murmuring now. This wasn't how executions typically went. The thing about predators, Maya said, dodging another attack with unnatural grace, is that they are not used to prey that fights back. This throws off their whole hunting strategy. The lead Krazak let out a different sound now, not a hunting call but something more complex. The pack regrouped, watching Maya with what almost looked like respect. Yeah, that's right, Maya said, somehow seeming to understand. I'm not your typical prey, am I? She stood tall in the center of the arena, breathing hard but uninjured. The 5 Krazak circled her, but their posture had changed. They no longer looked like they were hunting. They looked uncertain. Maya did something then that caused the entire arena to gasp. She turned her back on the lead Krazak and walked several paces away. Every alien spectator knew this was suicide. You never turn your back on a predator. The lead Krazak charged, but instead of attacking, it stopped short just behind Maya. It lowered its massive head and made a deep, rumbling sound. Maya turned slowly and, to everyone's astonishment, placed her hand on the creature's armored head. That's better, she said, loud enough for the front rows to hear. Now we understand each other. The other 4 Krazak approached cautiously, forming a protective circle around Maya, not to trap her, but seemingly to guard her. Counselor VPP stood up from his viewing box, his breathing membranes fluttering in agitation. What is happening? This is impossible. The Krazak are mindless killing machines. I couldn't help myself. I stood up and shouted back, clearly not as mindless as the High Counselor. The crowd's shocked gasp at my insubordination quickly turned to nervous laughter. Maya was now walking calmly among the 5 Krazak, occasionally touching their armored heads or sides. The creatures followed her movements, responding to subtle gestures. She had somehow, impossibly, established dominance over them in minutes. I believe, I called out, loud enough for all to hear, the human has passed your trial by combat, High Counselor. According to the ancient laws, one who masters the Krazak cannot be condemned. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. They had come for blood sport, but had witnessed something far more impressive. Maya looked up at the council's viewing box. I think we need to restart our diplomatic discussions, she called out. But first, my new friends are hungry. They could use some proper food. As if on cue, all 5 Krazak turned their massive heads toward the council box and released harmonized hunting shrieks that made the entire amphitheater vibrate. Counselor VP sank slowly back into his seat. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. The council had intended to teach humans humility by sacrificing a young female. Instead, they had just given humanity the most powerful biological weapons in the 7 systems and demonstrated exactly why humans from Earth were classified as Deathworlders in the first place. As Maya led her new Krazak pack around the arena in a victory lap, I wondered how the council would explain this diplomatic disaster to the other species in the alliance. One thing was certain, nobody would be underestimating humans again anytime soon. And somewhere in the detention cells, Ambassador Parker was about to learn his daughter wasn't just alive, she was now effectively royalty. Because in the 7 systems, those who command the Krazak are considered divine. The Deathworlder girl thrown to the apex predators hadn't just survived. News travels fast in the Seven Systems, especially when it involves a human teenager commanding 5 Krazak predators like they were overgrown puppies. By the time I reached the diplomatic quarter, every communication screen was playing footage of Maya's execution on loop. Science Officer Quicks. Ambassador Parker nearly knocked me over as he barreled down the corridor. For a species that evolved on a high-gravity death world, humans move with surprising speed. Where is my daughter? The guards just released me without explanation. Ambassador Parker, your daughter is… well, she's fine. Better than fine, actually. I struggled to find the right words. She's currently in the sacred chamber of ascension. His bushy eyebrows, those strange patches of facial hair humans possess, drew together. The what now? Perhaps it's easier if I show you, I said, gesturing toward a hovering transport platform. Parker climbed aboard, his considerable mass causing the platform to dip slightly. I want an explanation, Quicks. I have been locked up for 12 hours while these bureaucratic slugs threatened my daughter's life. And I will give you one, but trust me when I say the situation has evolved. Evolved how? He demanded as we glided through the Grand Spire's central atrium. Aliens from dozens of species stopped to stare at the human ambassador, whispering among themselves. Your daughter has achieved something unprecedented in our recorded history, I said carefully. She has bonded with the Krazak. Parker's face did that strange human color-changing thing, turning paler. The what? The apex predators she was meant to face as punishment. Instead of being devoured, she, well, tamed them, or perhaps impressed them would be more accurate. The ambassador's eyes widened comically. My Maya did what? According to our oldest laws, anyone who commands the Krazak is considered touched by the divine. I couldn't keep the amusement from my voice. The council is currently debating whether your daughter qualifies for deification. Parker stared at me for a long moment before erupting into booming laughter that echoed throughout the atrium, causing several passing Zindi delegates to retract their sensory stalks in alarm. Oh, that's rich. So they tried to execute my kid, and now they might have to worship her instead? Something like that, I admitted. Though I suspect they will find some bureaucratic loophole to avoid actual religious devotion. Still, Parker wiped tears of mirth from his eyes. This might be the best diplomatic incident I have ever been involved in. And believe me, I have seen some doozies. The Chamber of Ascension was ancient, predating even the formation of the Seven Systems Alliance. Carved from living crystal and illuminated by bioluminescent fungi, it normally hosted only the most sacred ceremonies of succession and ascension. Today, it hosted one teenage human girl and 5 enormous predators who seemed utterly devoted to her. We found Maya sitting cross-legged on the sacred dais, absent-mindedly scratching behind what appeared to be an ear equivalent on the largest Krazak. The creature was making a rumbling sound that resembled purring, if purring could shake dust from ceiling fixtures. Dad. Maya jumped up when she spotted us, causing all 5 Krazak to instantly alert, their compound eyes scanning for threats. Parker froze, instinctively recognizing the danger posed by the massive predators. Maya, honey, maybe don't make any sudden moves? It's okay, she said, making a subtle hand gesture. The Krazak immediately relaxed. They are just protective. Guys, this is my dad. Dad. These are, she hesitated before pointing to each creature in turn. I have named them Brutus, Athena, Zeus, Artemis, and this big fellow is Rex. I blinked all 4 of my eye stalks simultaneously. You named the Krazak after Earth mythological figures? Seemed appropriate, Maya shrugged. They are kind of mythological figures here, right? Parker approached cautiously, his paternal instincts apparently overriding his survival ones. Are you all right, sweetie? They didn't hurt you? I'm fine, Dad. Better than fine. Maya's face lit up with excitement. These guys are amazing. Their social structure is complex, their intelligence is off the charts, and they have this weird telepathic bond thing going on. I can almost feel what they are thinking. Telepathic? I interjected. That's impossible. Krazak are apex predators, not psychic communicators. Maya raised an eyebrow. Says who? Your scientists. Have any of them actually gotten close enough to study Krazak behavior without being eaten? She had a point. Our knowledge of Krazak biology came primarily from autopsies and remote observation. No scientist had ever interacted with live specimens as Maya was doing. How did you do it? Parker asked, cautiously extending a hand toward Rex, who sniffed it curiously. How did you get them to accept you? Simple. I didn't show fear. Maya patted Rex's armored head. Predators respect strength and confidence. I grew up tracking wolves and bears with Mom, remember? Same principles apply, just scaled up. A diplomatic chime sounded, announcing visitors. The massive doors swung open to reveal High Counselor VPP, flanked by a dozen nervous-looking guards. Rex let out a warning growl that made the guards stop in their tracks. Maya placed a calming hand on his neck. High Counselor, she greeted coolly. Come to finish your execution? Vep's breathing membranes fluttered rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in his species. Human Maya Parker, the Grand Council requests your presence for an emergency session. Requests? Parker interjected. After you tried to feed my daughter to these creatures? I think we are well past requests, Counselor. The situation has changed, VP admitted reluctantly. You could say that again, I muttered. The Council wishes to discuss the unprecedented circumstances and their implications for human-alliance relations. Maya exchanged glances with her father, then with Rex. The massive predator made a rumbling sound. We accept, she said finally. But my friends come with me. Vep's eye stalks twitched in alarm. The sacred council chambers cannot accommodate. Then find bigger chambers, Maya interrupted. Where I go, they go. Those are my terms. I bit back a laugh at the High Counselor's obvious discomfort. The peep was used to dictating terms, not negotiating them. Very well, he conceded after a painful silence. The Grand Amphitheater shall serve as our meeting place. Perfect, Maya smiled, rising to her feet with Rex looming protectively behind her. Lead the way. The Grand Amphitheater buzzed with tense energy as representatives from all 7 systems filled the ancient seats. The emergency session had drawn every major diplomatic and military leader in the Alliance, plus a significant number of curious spectators who had bribed their way in. Maya stood in the center of the amphitheater floor, surrounded by her Krazak guardians. Ambassador Parker and I positioned ourselves slightly behind her, forming what humans might call a united front. The 7 High Counselors entered in traditional processional order, their ceremonial robes billowing dramatically. They took their seats at the elevated dais, looking distinctly uncomfortable with the 5 apex predators watching their every move. Grand General Talk spoke first, her chitinous mandibles clicking with barely suppressed rage. This session will address the unprecedented situation regarding the human female Maya Parker and her apparent control over specimens of Krazak biologics. Maya rolled her eyes at the formal language. You mean how I didn't get eaten like you planned? Yeah, let's address that. Murmurs rippled through the assembled dignitaries. Humans were known for their directness, but addressing council members so bluntly was unheard of. The council acknowledges that the ritual combat has resulted in an unexpected outcome, VP said carefully. According to the ancient laws, one who commands the Krazak cannot be condemned. Great, Maya crossed her arms. So I'm free to go? Not quite. Vep's breathing membranes fluttered nervously. The situation presents certain complications, such as the Krazak are considered sacred biological weapons of the Alliance. They cannot simply leave with you. Rex growled low in his throat, causing several counselors to flinch visibly. Funny, Maya said, patting Rex's armored flank. They seem to disagree with your assessment, Counselor. Ambassador Parker stepped forward. Let me get this straight. You tried to execute my daughter using these creatures. She not only survived but somehow bonded with them. And now you are saying she can't keep them? That seems rather hypocritical, don't you think? It is a matter of security, Grand General Talk insisted. The Krazak are apex predators capable of tremendous destruction. They cannot be allowed to leave Alliance space. Then here's my counter-proposal, Maya said, her voice suddenly taking on a diplomatic tone that reminded me she was, indeed, an ambassador's daughter. I will remain here as their handler, serving as liaison between humans and the Alliance. In exchange, you will grant Earth 3 additional seats on the Interstellar Trade Commission and formal recognition as a protected Deathworld. The counselors exchanged shocked glances. Those were major concessions she was demanding. Such terms our VP began. Entirely reasonable, Maya finished for him. Unless you'd prefer I leave with my friends anyway. Rex seems quite capable of disabling your docking clamps. As if on cue, the largest Krazak flexed his massive claws, the sound of chitin scraping against the amphitheater floor echoing ominously. I couldn't help but smile. The girl had learned diplomatic blackmail in record time. The council requires time to deliberate, VPEP announced, clearly stalling. You have 1 hour, Ambassador Parker stated firmly. After that, we will consider this negotiation terminated and my daughter will depart with her companions. The counselors hurriedly retreated to their private chamber, whispered arguments already breaking out among them. Once they were gone, I turned to Maya with newfound respect. That was masterfully played. She grinned. I have been listening to my dad negotiate trade deals my whole life. Plus, having 5 apex predators backing you up makes bargaining a lot easier. You are not actually planning to stay here, are you? I asked quietly. Maya scratched under Rex's chin, earning what could only be described as a purr. For a while at least. These guys have been misunderstood for centuries. They are intelligent, social creatures, not mindless killing machines. Someone needs to study them properly, and apparently, they have chosen me. Ambassador Parker sighed heavily. Your mother is going to kill me when she finds out you are staying. Tell her it's like my gap year before college, except instead of backpacking through Europe, I'm bonding with alien apex predators and securing diplomatic advantages for Earth. I'm sure she will find that very reassuring, Parker said dryly. The council returned in 48 minutes, not the full hour they'd been granted. Their decision was written all over their postures, the slumped shoulders, the downturned eye stalks, the deflated breathing membranes. The council accepts the terms proposed by human Maya Parker, VP announced formally. Earth shall receive 3 seats on the Interstellar Trade Commission and formal recognition as a protected Deathworld. In exchange, Maya Parker shall remain within Alliance space as official Krazak handler and human liaison to the 7 systems. The assembled dignitaries erupted in a mixture of shocked gasps and excited chatter. In one diplomatic stroke, Earth had gained significantly more influence in galactic politics. The Council further proposes, VP continued once the noise had subsided, that Maya Parker be granted the ceremonial title of Artex Kazim. I nearly choked in surprise. That ancient title hadn't been used in thousands of cycles. What does that mean? Maya whispered to me. Loosely translated? She who commands the great hunters, I explained. It's one of our oldest honorifics, reserved for those with special connections to apex species. Maya's eyes lit up. So basically Queen of Monsters? Something like that, I admitted. She turned back to the council with a satisfied smile. I accept your terms and the title High Counselor. My first official act will be to request Science Officer Quicks as my cultural advisor and research partner in studying the Krazak. Now it was my turn to be surprised. Me? Me? You are the only one who tried to help me, she said quietly. Plus, you know more about Krazak biology than anyone else. I would be honored, I managed to say, all 4 of my eye stalks blinking rapidly in emotion. Ambassador Parker stepped forward to formally seal the agreement. The Earth Diplomatic Corps accepts these terms on behalf of humanity. Let this mark a new chapter in our relationship with the Seven Systems. High Counselor VP seemed relieved that the crisis had been averted, even if it had cost the Alliance significant political concessions. The agreement is formalized. Maya Parker shall begin her duties immediately as Artex Kazim. As the formal proceedings concluded, I leaned toward Maya. You know, when they threw you into that pit, they thought they were teaching humanity a lesson about your place in the galactic order. Maya smiled, running her hand along Rex's armored back as the massive predator leaned affectionately against her. They did teach us something. Oh, what's that? Her smile turned predatory, reminding me that humans were Deathworlders for a reason, that our place might be higher up the food chain than they realized. As we left the amphitheater, the 5 Krazak formed a protective circle around their new queen. Dignitaries and spectators scrambled to clear a path, fear and awe mingling in their expressions. I couldn't help but laugh at the cosmic irony. The Council had tried to put humans in their place by sacrificing one teenage girl. Instead, they had given humanity its first galactic power base and created a legend that would spread throughout the stars. The Deathworlder girl thrown to the apex predators hadn't just become their queen. She had changed the balance of power in the Seven Systems forever.